Hello and welcome to EMP Power Sports and Marine in beautiful St. Mary's, Idaho. Today we're going to be talking about different types of off-road motorcycles. We competed in a race with the St. Joe Motorcycle Club at Christmas Hills called the Chuck Compton Memorial. I saw a lot of riders with good woods bikes like my 1990 ATK 250 Cross Country. And I also saw a lot of riders on bikes they should not have been on up there, motocross bikes geared for track use. Today we're going to discuss the different types of dirt bikes and their purpose. This right here is my personal 1990 ATK 250 Cross Country. This is one of the best motorcycles I've ever owned. In my opinion, this is one of the best woods bikes ever built. If you're gonna ride up here in the St. Joe River Valley in the woods, you really do want a 200 to 300 cc two-stroke. Two-strokes are great. They have great power delivery. They're very simple motors, although they're high maintenance. This particular bike rips. It's a very fast motorcycle, but I can also crawl up steep hills with it. It can climb when I need it to. It's light, it's nimble, it doesn't have too much power, but has enough. It's just a perfect woods bike. So this is a great bike for riding at Christmas Hills, great bike for riding in the St. Joe River Valley. But not one bike does it all. Now we're gonna move on over here. This is my other personal rider and racer. This is my 1974 Rickman 250 Montesa. This is a vintage motocross bike. This is not a good woods bike. I do not ride this in that same event. This is something that I use for ARMA vintage events. I'll race this at Rattlers Run in Fairfield in September. We recently raced and placed third at a vintage motocross race in Narada, Montana. So this is a vintage motocross bike. This is good for short course racing. It's legal for vintage events. If you want to do vintage motocross, you got to look into the regulations. If I am correct, I believe it's 1974 and older bikes for 250 and open class. I believe they let 1975 and older in the 125 class. But if you want to do vintage racing, this would be a great bike for that. As well as this 1974 Honda CR 125 Elsinore. We built this for a guy in Oregon. We're just waiting for him to have the time to come pick the bike up. We're going to put the number plates and fenders on it. It's not 100% done. It's 99%. But this is another vintage motocross racer, vintage legal. So this would be another good ARMA bike. Horrible woods bike. Great motocross bike. I saw a lot of guys on bikes like this at the event last weekend, or modern day versions of. Certain bikes are set up for short course, for motocross. The gearing's different. The gearboxes are different. If you want to race on those types of tracks, these are, like I said, good candidates. The gearing on a woods bike, usually the gearboxes will be close ratio on your woods bike, 6-speed, close ratio gearbox. You'll have lower gearing for more torque. On your motocross bikes, they're going to be either 4 or 5-speed gearboxes usually. You're going to have much wider gearboxes and much taller gearing, geared more for speed. And so just figure in what type of riding you want to do. We're going to go in the back and talk about a couple more different bikes. This is a post-vintage motocross bike. Post-vintage starts, I believe, around 1978. And the Huskies are kind of cheater bikes. They go up to 1983. Some of the other bikes, 79 is kind of the cutoff. Post-vintage is a vintage motorcycle, air-cooled. You're going to have drum brakes front and rear, twin rear shocks. The difference between a post-vintage and a vintage is the travel. These have much longer shocks, much more travel. The tracks are a little bit more gnarly. The riding's a little bit more gnarly. This is a 1981 Husqvarna 430 CR, so this would be a really good open class post-vintage bike. I was initially going to restore this for me, but when this bike's done, this bike will be for sale. It'll probably be about a $6,500 bike. Back onto woods bikes. I did see a few of these XRs. These old Honda XRs are great bikes. I took this in from a client. Came in, I got to go through it. It has low compression, but these are really good woods bikes. Very reliable. This is a 4-stroke, so if you don't want to deal with the maintenance of a 2-stroke and you're not going to be out there racing, an old Honda XR set up properly is a phenomenal woods bike. You can get Baja Designs lighting kits and make these road legal. So this is not quite as hot of a bike as my ATK is, but it's still a very aggressive off-road oriented motorcycle that'd be a great Sunday rider or a great racer for vintage, post-vintage off-road events. You can race these against modern bikes this weekend. It was mostly modern bikes that were out on the field. Guys were going nuts over the ATK because you just don't see those. But there was a lot of modern KTMs. If you want a modern woods bike, I'd recommend a KTM 200 or 300cc two-stroke. I don't really deal too much with modern bikes. If you want a modern motocross bike, you really can't beat something like a Honda CRF or a Yamaha YZF. We're going to go over one more type of motorcycle, vintage off-road motorcycle today. This right here is a 1974 Honda MT250 Elsinore. This is a lot less aggressive. This is a less aggressive bike than the XR we just viewed in the other room. It's a lot less aggressive than the other bikes that are full-blown racers that I featured prior. If you want a road legal, out of the crate dirt bike that you can ride on and off the highway, this right here, this motorcycle, you can ride it to work on Monday after you go out and trail ride it all day on Sunday. So you can trail ride this bike Sunday, ride it to work on Monday. It's road legal. It has a plate, came from the factory with a headlight, tail light. It has a speedometer, a tachometer, an odometer. This is essentially a road-going dual sport, kind of like the SUV of motorcycles. So figure out what type of riding you're going to be doing. Are you going to be riding in the woods? Are you going to be racing? Do you want to do vintage motocross? Do you want to do post-vintage or modern motocross? Do you want to do cross-country and enduro events? Do you want a desert race? For a desert racer, I don't have one in here, but something like that orange XR that's in the back, they made a 600cc version of those. Those are phenomenal desert bikes. For desert, you want a big four-stroke. For the woods, you really want a small displacement two-stroke. For motocross, you want a bike that it can be small or medium size, but it has to fit your riding, how can I put it, ability. So figure out what you want to do and ask yourself what motorcycle is right for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We are a vintage motorcycle restoration and race shop. We're always happy to give advice and help people to make sure that you get the bike that fits your needs and riding ability. We also sell gear, so if you want a set of boots, a helmet, gloves, tires, we are an authorized dealer for all that stuff. Please visit emppowersports.com. If you like this video and you found it to be helpful, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time at EMP Power Sports and Marine.